Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, March the 12th, 2019. Good to have you all here for our first and only show of this week here, as we are now firmly in our March schedule, which means one show a week on Tuesdays through the entire month of March. We kind of started that week early last week, as you all know, because we were preempted on Thursday. So, yeah. But anyway, we are firmly into our March schedule now. And, of course, now conference tournament week this week, championship week. Next week, the NCAA tournament, the week after as well. So some good stuff coming up. We have a lot to do, so I'm not going to waste time. Apologies for the late start. Technical problems I cannot help. I cannot help that my computer had issues. I cannot help that my internet had issues. Believe me, I don't like to be a half hour late. I was ready and prepared at 10 o'clock, ready and willing to go. I had issues all night with this thing, and if I could have rescheduled, I would have done that. I was not able to, so I kind of got stuck into doing it tonight. So yeah, that's why we had to do late, and it's an annoyance. I get it, but did the best I could with it. So let's make the best of it. So with that being said, let's start things off here by reminding you all the ways which you can interact and contribute to our show, have your voice heard, by emailing us at itspotlight401@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight401. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight401 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page once you find it, so you can interact with us and all that cool, fun stuff. Again, there's only one show this week, one show next week, one show the week after. We will not be back to 2 shows until April, so please keep that in mind. Again, all shows will be on Tuesday nights, so please keep that in mind as well. We do have a lot to do, but I'm going to try to kind of bypass a lot of it. I don't like to do this, but when I was writing things out for our show tonight, and this was before we were late, so it had nothing to do with being late. I decided, since we have, that we got the college basketball. Look, the bubble watch, everybody's like, oh, it's going to be a long bubble watch. It's not. It's not. We're not going to do what we've been doing the last couple weeks. When we do the last bubble watch, we don't go over every team. We don't go over who's in already. We're going to go over the teams that are still legitimately actually still in the conversation. Okay, so we will, you can go on ESPN.com, you can go to CBS.com and look at the bubble watch there, just to kind of look at who might be involved. But honest to God, we are not going to talk about anybody. We're not going to do what we've been doing the last few weeks. So it won't be as long of a bubble watch as you think it will be. Trust me. Because I think a lot of teams have either played their way in or have played their way out at this point. We're probably down, I think, maybe 8 legit teams at this point. So not as much to talk about there as you would think. We will kind of look at what championship week has already brought us, some really good games, and what it could still bring us over the next couple of days. We have some wrestling to get to, Raw, SmackDown, Fastlane, which I'm going to go through quickly because I'm going to be honest, it hasn't been as eventful as I thought it would be. A lot of it we've just been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Box office beat is one of the things I'm going to bypass. I'm going to actually quickly bring that up at the top, and then actually, we're not even going to really do one this week. I hate to do that to people, but there's really not. I was writing the segment out. There isn't a lot there, so I kind of figured we just kind of blow through it and then move on. And that'll be our only entertainment stuff for tonight. So we'll power through that. I want to touch on. I usually don't do NFL, but we have to talk about. It's been tonight's big sports news. Tonight, I will briefly talk about the OBJ trade and some of the NFL moves. We'll go through that quick. But really, if I'm being honest, tonight's more about college basketball. That's really going to be the big part of it. So, so that'll be the big focal point. So I'm going to try to move through some of the quick stuff, get it out of the way, and then get to the other stuff, so we can kind of make up some time here. Like I said, this is our only show this week. Next week, we'll do again, Tuesday show again, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern. That will be pretty much a college basketball show. That's what happens this time of year. Some of our other stuff gets kind of cut down because we have to focus so much on college basketball. Next week, we'll be doing brackets. We fill out our brackets on the air, in the Spotlight Challenge, all that cool, fun stuff. That'll pretty much be the entire show next week. We'll throw a couple little wrestling nuggets in there and box office beat, but that'll be about it. And then after that, we'll be just talking tournament games and that kind of stuff. So that'll take us through March. We'll do a WrestleMania preview at the end of the month. So yeah, that's kind of what's going to be coming up. I hate to be quick about it, but there's not much else to say. So as far as scheduling goes, and that, it's what you see is what you get over these next few weeks. A lot of college basketball, and then everything else kind of gets the scraps. So With the way things go in March. All right, so without further ado, let's get right down to business here. Again, I said there's a couple little things I want to discuss off the top as far as the NFL goes, because that is the big story tonight. So let me quickly do that before Mike's here. I know he is, but before I get him on board, I want to blow through this quick so I can try to make up some time. All right, so obviously the big sports news of tonight is the Odell Beckham Jr. trade to the Browns. Now, if you've been following what's been going on, you know that there was all kinds of talk about the Giants trading Odell Beckham Jr. over these last few weeks, and the Browns had been brought up a number of times. Many people didn't think it was real, that it could happen. And it was kind of like this thing where you just didn't know if they could pull it off. And there's been other moves made by the Browns and the Giants, and look, once they traded Landon Collins, which, look, here's the thing, I didn't like the Landon Collins trade. I thought it was a bad trade. You wouldn't get a young guy, a young safety. I would not have made that move. But once you do that, you pretty much have to get rid of Odell Beckham Jr. because what kind of message are you sending to your team? Either you're rebuilding or you're not. Last year, they couldn't make up their mind. This year, they made up their mind. And once you make that commitment to trading a guy, even in his 20s, you have to pretty much trade this other prime young superstar that you have that can bring back a good return. And that's what they did. So they trade Odell Beckham Jr. to the Browns. They get another number 1 pick for this year, the 17 picks. That gives them another chance to get a first-round pick. So they get him. They that pick. I think they got a couple. There's going to be other picks and a wide receiver return to the Giants in this deal. Also, they get God, his name escapes me. I apologize. A safety from the Browns. God, what's his name? So I make sure I'm accurate here. I'm pulling it up right now because I had this, but this okay. Right here, Jabril Peppers. So Jabril Peppers, first-round pick, number 17 overall, the second of the Browns' third-round pick, number 95, and then it seems like there might be other picks involved. This trade reunites Beckham with close friend Jarvis Landry, as well as LSU wide receivers coach Adam Henry. So it's a big deal, and it's a deal that apparently Odell Beckham Jr. was not against. He's got, again, relationships there. If he was going to go anywhere, he wanted to go here. That's why the Browns, I think, kept coming up. And apparently there was a discussion with the Browns that, Odell was kind of all about, that this is something good. Look, it made it easy for it to happen. And look, the Giants needed to do this. It was the right move. After you trade Landon Collins, that's your signal. It's the right move. And it's going to be a bad year for them, but it had to happen. And if I were them, you keep Eli Manning and you let him tutor whatever quarterback you get in this year's draft. And that's just the way it's going to be. It sucks for Eli Manning, but unless you think you can trade him somewhere, sign and trade him somewhere, let him go somewhere where he can win this year. But honestly, I think maybe he would sign on to staying and tutoring another quarterback. But I think this is a deal the Giants had to make, and especially after what they did already this offseason, and they did it. So good for them. It's the right move after what they did. I'm not saying that it's a year too late. Maybe probably shouldn't have signed him, but then again, they're going to get a return back for him. So here's the other thing for the Browns. They've been very active. There's been a lot of big NFL moves, and the Browns have been very active in them. Along with, obviously Antonio Brown was another big move. He goes to the Oakland Raiders, which the Steelers had to make that move. They did it. Who knows how the Steelers are going to be. We'll talk about them in a second. But for the Raiders, after last year when they traded Khalil Mack, which everybody went crazy about because, what are you doing, John Gruden? Well, now they're going to get Antonio Brown. Now you have to think they're going to keep David Carr because why else would you go trade for Antonio Brown if you're not going to try to compete this year? In the last year in Oakland, it's clear they're going to try to compete, and probably the right move after what happened last year. So that's been a big move. Obviously, the Steelers had to do that. They finally do it. We'll see if that helps the Steelers going forward. You've seen the Jets very active. Nick Foles goes to the Jaguars. Highest amount of guaranteed money ever in history, $50 million out of the 80-something million that he's going to be getting. It was a foregone conclusion he was going to go to Jacksonville. It's a good move. I'm glad for Nick Foles. I wish he would stayed in Philly, but he'll do very well there. Ted
Teddy Bridgewater stays with New Orleans, which, look, I know people are like, well, why wouldn't you want to go start somewhere? Why wouldn't you go to Miami and start there? Well, he thinks he's apparently he's probably been told that he will be Drew Brees' successor. And I'm sorry, but if you want to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, what team would you rather play for, New Orleans Saints or the Miami Dolphins? It's a no-brainer. If you're told you have to wait another year, why wouldn't you stay? It's a no-brainer. I'm sorry, folks. So it's a good move for Teddy Bridgewater and the Saints. The Saints pretty much keeping all their big players. Dolphins look like they're going to go after Tyrod Taylor now, as they try to go get a quarterback, because Tannehill looks like he's going to go to the Jets as the backup quarterback to reunite him with Adam Gase. So a lot of moving and shaking. Free agency. This is the negotiation period. After 4:00 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, everybody can officially sign. So I'd imagine there'll be even more big moves over the next 24 hours that we'll hear about. But obviously, I was just trying to jump on some of the bigger moves, including the biggest move, that being Odell Beckham Jr., because that, to me, that's one of the biggest trades in NFL history. It really is. You talk about, like, in sports history, some of the bigger trades, like Shaq and Alex Rodriguez, some of these big trades that have taken place. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to go down as one of them. It really is. It's a significant trade. The Giants signed him to that big deal last offseason, and now a year later he gets shipped off to the Browns. He's one of the best players in the NFL. He's not the best receiver. He's definitely one of them. And how popular he was. I mean, the Giants got rid of two big popular names, Landon Collins and Odell Beckham Jr. in within 2 weeks. This is significant. It's going to kill their fan base, but it's significant. And this is a guy that, again, it's a seismic shift in the NFL. And think about this from the Browns' perspective. The Browns, in the last 3 years, have gone from perpetual loser. I mean, they had one good year a couple years ago, 8-8, but generally perpetual loser and a joke, to last year being on the precipice of, like, you're starting to see signs. You got Baker Mayfield, and they were playing so well. Now they're the favorite to win the NFC North. The AFC North, I'm sorry. You talk about what the Steelers have lost: Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. The Ravens, who are not really knock your socks off good. The Bengals, who have struggled. The Browns are the favorite in that division now. Look how quickly the tide has turned. Look how they've evolved. It's crazy. Absolutely, positively crazy that the Browns are going to probably be a playoff team next year if everything goes right for them. So, huge deal tonight. Obviously, any other big deals happen of note, we will talk about them over the course of the next few weeks. But very, very big deal tonight in the NFL, and really sports in general. That's going to go out. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to go out as one of the bigger trades in sports history. Mark my words. For the significance of what it meant for the Giants and what it means for the Browns. Huge deal. Very huge deal. So I said I wanted to talk about that briefly. We did. So that's a little bit of sports. We're going to jump out of sports, jump to some entertainment really quick. I said we're going to do a quick box office beat. That's what we're going to do, really quick. And again, when I was trying to, write out this segment tonight, this is what I wanted to talk about. Look, we knew Captain Marvel was going to be huge. We knew it probably could get to about 150, 160 million. It did that. $153 million domestic opening, $455 million worldwide. Okay. Probably going to hit $1 billion, which I thought it would, unless it slows down quite a lot this week, which I don't think it will. It saved the box office. Look, How to Train Your Dragon helped. Okay. And so did Tyler Perry's Medea Family Funeral. That they both kind of helped. But let's be honest, Captain Marvel was the big boon that the box office needed. And it came in March, which has traditionally been a month that's kind of saved the box office. And it did that. So Captain Marvel does its thing this weekend. Again, 153 million, 153.4 million. We knew everything else was going to be well below that. How to Train Your Dragon dropped from first to second with 14.6 million, 51% drop off. Tyler Perry's Medea Family Funeral dropped from second to third, 12.4 million, a 53% drop, and everything else under 5 million, which we all expected it would happen. So you might look at that and go, that's a bad week at the box office. Not really. Not when you consider the two lower movies were, as far as, the movies over 5 million were both over 10 million, and you had a movie that was over $153 million. It's not really a bad weekend when you have that. So ends up being a fairly decent weekend at the box office. Now, that's last week. Again, what's the story for this week? Not much. You have 3 new releases. The biggest release is an animated film called Wonder Park from Paramount, opening in 3,500 theaters, with the voice talents of Matthew Broderick, Jennifer Garner, Jeffrey Tambor, Kenan Thompson, Ken Jeong, Mila Kunis, and John Oliver. PG. I don't expect a lot from it. I would not be the least bit surprised if it does under 15 million. I really don't think it's going to do very well. I mean, it's been well promoted, but I just don't see it appealing to too many people, even though it's going to be in a lot of theaters. That might be its saving grace. The second biggest release is a romance film called 5 Feet Apart from Lionsgate, opening in 2,600 theaters, 2,600 theaters, I should say, starring Cole Sprouse and Haley Lou Richardson. I'm kind of surprised this movie didn't come out during Valentine's Day. It would have been perfect. But obviously, Cole Sprouse has a fan base, so that might help it. I wouldn't be surprised if this movie, even though it's in less theaters, actually does better than Wonder Park, because you have an actor in it with a fan base. And then you have Captive State, a sci-fi film from Focus Features, opening in 2,200 theaters, directed by Rupert Ryan, starring John Goodman and Vera Farmiga. Not expecting a lot from this movie. If it breaks if it breaks 5 million, I'll be shocked. I think it's probably like a $4.5 million movie type deal. Captain Marvel's going to win the weekend again. It's just a matter by how much. I'm going to say around 90 million. 90, 95, might be a little lower than that. Depends on how it carries over. But yeah, 90, 95 million is what I'm going with, and that's going to obviously take the weekend. I'm going to say 5 Feet Apart does better than Wonder Park. So I'm going to say 5 Feet Apart around 16 million, Wonder Park around 12. How to Train Your Dragon, I'm going to say around 9 million. Wonder Park will probably kill that a little bit. Medea Family Funeral around 7. And then again, I think Captive State around 4.5 million, which would be under 5 million. That's how I see this weekend's box office going. Not many storylines. Captain Marvel is just doing what we all expected it to do. And so next week, I think will be an interesting week, because you have Jordan Peele's Thrower Us, which is getting rave reviews and expected to do very well, being released from Universal next week. That one should help bring up the box office again. And the week after, you got Dumbo. So next few weeks should bring more in the way of competition and bigger draws, I think, here as we go through the rest of March. And obviously, we have to take into account spring breaks and how college basketball impact things. But I think the couple movies that are coming out over these next couple of weeks will probably be able to sustain themselves even against that kind of competition. So again, box office beat. I said it would be quick. It was quick. So that's it for the box office. And again, we went through the NFL stuff pretty quick. It was a breaking news story, and it wasn't a lot. I just wanted to touch on it. I don't usually do NFL stuff like that, but this in the off season, but it's such a big story. I don't think people realize how big of a story that is. OBJ being traded. I'm telling you, you're gonna remember that 10 years down the road. You will. But anyway, enough of that. We jumped from sports to entertainment. Now we're jumping. That is the only entertainment stuff we're gonna do. The box office beat. Now we're gonna jump back into some sports here, and do some college basketball, which is the focal point of our night. I'm going to bring Mike on. He's been waiting. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
For the love of crap, I've been on the entire time. You couldn't have thrown to me a little earlier.
You weren't listening at all, were you?
I heard the entire thing.
Well,
now Brian, shut the hell up. Did I have an opinion about the Odell Beckham to the Browns thing? No, you were right about that. I did not have any opinions about that. Captain Marvel being the number one movie of the weekend? Absolutely. No shit, Sherlock. Did we have to talk about any other things? No. Was Johnny Depp proven innocent finally? Yes, but that was a big relief. But I'm surprised we didn't get into that. But hey, it's good that finally came out today. But Captain Marvel being number one, yay! Wonder Park, you really had to waste breath on Wonder Park. Come on, Brian. Now, I have to be up very early today, so unfortunately that means we have to waste time on teams on the bubble watch. Look, the segment goes quicker now that it's the last fucking time that we have to do this segment. But let's be honest here. I'm not going to waste a single breath on some certain teams here.
I'm going to bring you some bad news, Mike.
Don't say the words Saint and Mary's.
Wow, There's good news and bad news. There's good news. We don't have to talk about them in the bubble watch. The bad news is we don't have to talk about them because they beat Gonzaga.
Oh, shut the fuck up. Really?
And won the automatic bid.
Oh, my God. Really?
60-47.
Gonzaga couldn't even win their conference correctly.
They only scored 47 points. So,
Gonzaga,
by the way,
Gonzaga couldn't win their goddamn conference. They had one job.
That team gets in every year somehow. My God.
They were not going to be in unless they beat Gonzaga.
And they did for the automatic bid. By the way, that's the end of Gonzaga's #1 seed. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, Gonzaga's a straight. Gonzaga should be on the 3 line.
That's bad. I'm sorry. No way. 47 points against St. Mary's. Come on now. I'm sorry. You can't. They were talking about them being the #1 overall seed today, which I never could. No. Gone. Done. Over with.
Nope. We're done. We're done with Gonzaga. By the way, for those of you thinking, hey, this could be Gonzaga's year.
Nope. There goes. Again. That's an indictment right there.
hey guys, this could be Gonzaga's year. Well, good news, friendo. I've got oceanfront property for you in North fucking Dakota.
No, they're done. Stick a fork in them. They're done. There's two teams. I never really bought Gonzaga 100% anyway, but there's two teams that I think have taken a major hit in terms of championship aspirations. Gonzaga's one, Duke is the other. Because Duke, you're going to get Zion Williamson back this week, yes, but they're losing Bolden for the ACC tournament, maybe even the NCAA tournament. I just don't see it. They're too one-dimensional. It's very rare that I would say that a team that likes scoring in the paint is a team that I don't think is a championship team, because usually that means you're efficient and you may take good shots. But we all know it's what we've seen this before. If you do not have at least some kind of outside shooting threat, consistent outside shooting threat, not somebody that just once in a while, if you're playing a zone, hello Syracuse, goes off from 3 like Kyle Kirk from the corner. Okay, that doesn't work. You have to have somebody that's reliable, that game in and game out makes shots. Duke don't have it. They don't. And that's going to kill them in the tournament. It's going to kill them. And quite frankly, there's better teams. So, there just is. That says a lot. That says a lot because I thought Duke was the outside favorite all season. But I would take North Carolina over them. I would take Kentucky over them. I'd take Tennessee over them. So, but still, they're probably going to find some way into a #1 seed now, especially with Gonzaga losing. But anyway, so yeah, let's jump to these bubble teams, and we'll, But yeah, I had to bring this.
We got to move through it quickly, but I was hoping never to speak of the word Saint and Mary, but apparently we do. But hey, for those of you thinking, hey, St. Mary's finally beat Gonzaga this year, they're a Sweet 16 team. Pump the hate brakes there, Thanos.
God, they're going to get a high seed too.
St. Mary's?
They're going to get like a 7 or 8 because they beat Gonzaga.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
They've played exactly one team 3 times, and they got them in the last try to get an automatic bid. They're going to get a 6 seed, and they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Because St. Mary's sucks.
Yeah. No, they don't deserve to be in. But boy, that's oh boy. All right, so let's get right down to business here, okay? In terms of the teams that we're going to be talking about here, because a lot of them sit in the Big East. Because I think for the most part, as I look at this, yeah, okay. So so we're not going to talk ACC. Will be simple here. I think Clemson's the only team that we really have left to talk about. I think everybody else has handled business, including NC State. Clemson is the team that everybody's going to be talking about right now because of the fact that they beat Syracuse, which isn't enough on its own. So what's Clemson got to do at this point?
to
Beat
get
NC State.
beat NC State. Which does that put NC State in trouble?
Yep.
It probably does, but at the same time, I think if Clemson beats NC State, okay, I don't think that's enough on its own.
Nope.
If they win their next game, I think that gets them in, and it also gets NC State in because it makes Clemson look better.
Yeah, because their next game is probably against a team like Virginia.
It is against Virginia.
Yeah, so if they could beat NC State and then beat Virginia, then yeah, they're finally in. Because that means they finally beat a quad 1 ACC team.
Mm-hmm.
So by the way, it's not going to happen.
I don't think it is. But I ultimately I think, let's say Clemson beats NC State and they lose to Virginia, I still think NC State will get in. I still think NC State's going to find its way in, but at the same time, I think a lot of it ties to Clemson, and I think Clemson has a good shot, but I don't know, against Virginia. I mean, if they get some help, some of these other teams lose, it might help them too. I don't know, but they have a good shot. I think they'll stay in it with Virginia, but I don't know if they'll actually do it. Maybe they'll take them both. Who knows? But I think right now it's win 2 games for Clemson. I think NC State's probably in right now, but if they lose to Clemson, then I think they're vulnerable. Big 12, I think it's really down. I think Texas is in there right now. So I'm not going to talk about them. I think TCU is the only one left to talk about. Oh boy. Everybody thinks that if they win one game in the Big 12 tournament, they're probably in. They probably are. I wouldn't do that, but they probably are in if they win one game. They won at Texas. Everybody thinks that that's enough with them beating Iowa State twice, but boy, we're really grasping at straws here with a team like TCU.
Well, they beat Texas at Texas.
That's the thing. That's the one that's, it's like,
they would have made life easier if they had beaten Kansas State, or if they had beaten Texas Tech, or if they had beaten West Virginia.
Right.
Hey, but they beat Iowa State. That's not saying fucking much of anything, because Iowa State, like Kansas, is everybody's quality win nowadays.
Right, you're right.
Yeah, they have to go in and beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, however, is not very good.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. If they put Texas in, then with TCU beating them at Texas, it almost makes the argument that they can take TCU over some of these other teams from like the Big Ten or something, because they might feel like, well, hey, they beat Texas in Texas, we're taking Texas. You know what I'm saying? It's that whole connection BS that sometimes we see them bring up when they're talking about why they took a team. So I think they're going to get in, but boy. I don't think they should, but they're probably going to get in. If they win that first game in the Big 12 tournament, they're going to get in. That's simple as that. Big East is simple. I think it's down to
Seton Hall's in.
Well, I'm not talking about Seton Hall. Seton Hall's in. St. John's is in. We're not talking about them. Although St. John's is not making it easy on themselves. They're making themselves almost vulnerable if they lose their first game in the Big East tournament. I'm trying to decide whether I think Creighton's in or not. I think that they are, but probably like last 4 in. So they probably Creighton. I'm gonna make it easy. Creighton has to win one game in the Big East tournament. I think they probably get one game. Xavier and Georgetown, I think, have to win 2. That's the way I see it. I think that's putting it in its simplest form. They have to win at least 2 games. Xavier and Georgetown.
I think Georgetown's in a better position than Xavier.
Probably. And again, as we all know, with the bubble in the last week of in conference tournament week, sometimes your fate can change based on what everybody else does. Like a team, that you played in non-conference, all of a sudden wins a conference tournament when nobody expected to. That can bring up your quality win quota, or a couple teams on the bubble lose, and all of a sudden you look better in comparison. Those things can change things too, but I think you're right. I think Georgetown is in a better position, but I think they both still need to win 2 games either way. That's just my feeling. But I think that's a little bit simple as far as the Big East goes. Big Ten. Let's see.
I'm not going to talk about Minnesota. I think it's Ohio State. I think it's really Ohio State. Indiana, I think we can't talk about today. At least get to the semifinals. So I'm just going to leave Indiana at that. Get to the semifinals, then we'll talk. Even though they've had some good wins of late. Ohio State's so weird because they shouldn't even be in this position based on how they started the year. They shouldn't, but they are. and here's the thing. Without Caleb Wesson, they're not a tournament team. So if you're not going to have Caleb Wesson, if you're the tournament, if you're the committee, let's say they lose their first Big Ten tournament, they're not going to the tournament because you have two arguments to be made. One, the way they finished the season, their conference record, losing the first game of their tournament, and the fact they don't have their best player. What are you gonna? You can't. That's not a tournament team. So that's as simple as that. They have to at least win their first game just to make the argument. I think that's pretty much where you're at.
But then again, if Indiana has a big opportunity because they're the type of team that might pull like Michigan, the Michigan State Larry Nassers, or Michigan, or Purdue, or Wisconsin, or Maryland, or Iowa, or Penn State. I think they are getting Penn State in the next game. That's a quad for some reason. I don't know how, but Penn State's a quad one opportunity,
right,
for them. So if they can get by Penn State, well, for some odd reason, that's a quad one win, and then that boosts your resume. Look, Indiana and Ohio State and Minnesota have sub 500 records in conference.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to waste my breath on them, but here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. You and me feel the same way. None of these teams should be considered, but somebody has to be. Okay, so I'm there's been one team in the Pac-12 all along. It's been Arizona State.
Skip them, they're in.
Yeah, so I think we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at that.
If they had lost to Arizona on Saturday, we would probably should discuss them, but they handled their business in the end.
They're in.
They're in. We can skip them. Moving on.
SEC. It's Florida and Alabama.
Surprisingly.
And if I'm being honest, I don't know why most people think Florida's over Alabama. I don't think either one should be in right now. I think they need help. I think both of them need help to get in. I think they not only do they have to win games. Here's the
thing. Here's the big thing. Georgetown has to win a couple of games in the Big East to get in. Georgetown has more quad one wins than Florida, and Florida is currently in.
I don't figure that out. I don't think they shouldn't be in. I'm sorry, that's a joke.
I know all experts mock boards. Florida's in.
I think that'll change if they lose.
Well, I think it'll change if they lose too. I think Georgetown will probably be in over Florida because if you compare the records, Florida's is trash.
Yeah, big time. But yeah,
Alabama's is also trash.
I would say this because the SEC is obviously more highly regarded. If Florida wins a game, they'll probably get in if they're already being put in most mock, selections. If Alabama wins 2, they'll probably get in. In my book, Florida should have to win at least 2.
Well,
that's my thing.
ESPN has this nice little blurb about Alabama, and it is actually a fantastic blurb about Alabama's skill level. Alabama is not a team that has won a game against an NCAA tournament caliber opponent since January. You have to take that into effect. They're an NIT team at this moment in time.
Agreed.
Moving on.
So I think, like I said, 2 for Alabama, 1 for Florida probably would do it. But
I think you're looking at 3 for Alabama.
American, I think Temple at this point, I would say is probably a last 4 in. They finished up really strong. What UCF has done has been very big for them because it obviously gave them another quality win late. I think if Temple wins their first American tournament game, I think they'll be in. Right now, I think they're barely in, but if they win their first tournament game, I think they're in. That's where I think they're at right now. I think they're an easy case, really. But yeah, that's a simple conference, one team. Anybody else to consider? Well, we'll have to talk about St. Mary's. They're already in.
Nope, we're not talking about them anymore.
I think VCU is probably in. I think Belmont's probably in. I do not think Lipscomb is. I think if Furman, UNC Greensboro, probably not. I don't think Furman is either. That sucks because I thought Furman would get in. I would have put Furman in over St. Mary's, but St. Mary's took care of that. So, yeah, I think Belmont will get in. Utah State, I don't think will get in unless they win the tournament. I think you'll see VCU get in, Belmont get in, and that'll be it from that group of other teams. I think that's it. Simple as that. Everybody else that would be considered won their tournaments, or were like Gonzaga are too much of a lock. So, Mike, anything to add?
Give me a minute.
Sure.
As of 1 hour ago, these teams are in the tournament, and I'm not discussing that team who I refuse to acknowledge. Liberty's in, Gardner-Webb's in, Iona's in, Bradley's in, Murray State's in, Wofford's in, Northern Kentucky, who actually saw them win. They're in. Northern Kentucky's in, yeah. Northeastern's in, and Fairleigh Dickinson is also in.
Right.
So those are some interesting choices you had. Liberty is a team that we thought might be in. Bradley is a team. Wofford, obviously, we were talking about Wofford a little bit. Murray State's a team we always usually talk about. They've been dominating the Ohio Valley lately. Bradley's going to be one of those teams and Iona, specifically Iona, that's going to be one of those teams in that 16 play-in game, 17-15. Yeah, sorry guys. Fairleigh Dickinson might be in there too.
Right.
But that's where we are.
I'm glad you did that because that was going to be my next beat. But look, we talked about the bubble teams, who we think's in, who we think's out, what we think each team has to do. Obviously, we're not in the thick of conference tournament action, other than the small conferences, which we've already seen a number of bids get decided. The ACC tournament started today, but it was all the way with the bottom feeders. Tomorrow, you get some bigger teams in. But again, not really a whole lot going on. Again, mostly bottom feeders versus middle tier. Things really get going on Thursday. The MAC tournament heats up. The Big East tournament gets started. The ACC tournament moves into its quarterfinal. With all the big teams getting in the Big 12 championship gets into its quarterfinal, along with the Big 10 gets into their second one. Big 10 will start tomorrow. Mountain West gets underway with their quarterfinal, SEC. So everything really kind of takes off on Thursday, culminating on Saturday and Sunday, obviously, with the big tournaments all concluding. Saturday is championship day. You have the America East Championship final at 11 a.m. between UMBC and Vermont. Oh, UMBC, Mike. Remember them. Virginia don't want to see them.
But we want to see them with Virginia.
Oh, I'd love to see them with Virginia. I think a lot of that team is back for the most part. You got at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, the Ivy League tournament semifinal between Pennsylvania and Harvard. That should be good. And then Atlantic 10 Championship semifinal at 1. SEC semifinal at 1 as well. Big 10 semifinal at 1. MAC tournament final at 1 o'clock p.m. The other half of the Ivy League semifinal at 2:30 p.m. between Princeton and Yale. Later on that day, you have the Big Ten, Atlantic 10 Championship semifinal. Oh, Sun Belt Conference Championship, 4 o'clock p.m. on Saturday. Georgia State and to be determined. And then at night, you have the Big 12 Championship at 6, Mountain West Championship at 6, SWAC Championship at 6, Big East Championship at 6:30. Sun Belt Championship at 6:30, UT Arlington versus to be determined. MAC Tournament Championship at 7:30, Big Sky Championship at 8, Conference USA at 8:30, ACC Championship at 8:30, Southland at 9:30, WAC Championship at 10, and then Pac-12 Championship, which I'm sure Bill Wall will be going crazy over at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then the Big West Conference Tournament Championship at midnight Eastern Time Saturday, and then Sunday is the what's left over, which is not a lot. Ivy League final at noon, SEC final at 1, Atlantic 10 final at 1, Sun Belt Championship at 2, AAC at 3:15 championship, and then Big Ten will be, as always, the last championship at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's the run of games as we go through the week, and then the brackets come out at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Hopefully they don't do it like they did last year because it was anticlimactic. So it should be an interesting week. Zion Williamson back in the fold. The ACC tournament should be interesting. The Big East, the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC all got major bubble implications. Obviously, like I said, some of these smaller conferences have had some interesting, very good games, some big upsets, which might result in some bid stealers, like in the Belmont case. And of course, tonight with Gonzaga. So there's already been some big upsets, some great games, some buzzer beaters. That's why there's two things I like about championship week. You get the small conferences early and the one bids, and then the bid stealers, and then you get the big conferences late and get some dramatic big games and the bubble teams, and it's always a fun week. It's like a nice little appetizer to the main course. So we'll see how the rest of the week goes, and then obviously we'll unveil our brackets and talk about the brackets and everything next Tuesday. It should be a lot of fun. As Syracuse fans, it's nice that we don't have to sweat this year, even though they didn't finish the season very strong. So, but yeah, it should be an interesting week of basketball. So make sure that you tune in and watch some of these games because it'll be a lot of fun, I think. I already have been. All right, so that's it for bubble teams and brackets and one seeds. If anybody, like I said, if anybody were to ask me right now, Gonzaga's not one. They probably might end up being one. I don't know how they can possibly be, but they might. Who knows? Some people are saying yes, they are. I think right now, as it stands, it would be Virginia's number 1 seed, then Kentucky, then North Carolina, and then Duke. That's probably how it would go. If anybody loses, next in line would probably be Tennessee or Gonzaga again. And then you maybe get into Michigan and Michigan State. That's it. That's all the only teams I can see being a number 1 seed at this point. That's it. So, yeah. All right. So that's all we got for sports tonight. We did the real NFL. We did some basketball. We did our entertainment stuff at the box office beat. All we're left with is wrestling. And it was an interesting week in wrestling. Obviously, we had WWE Fastlane on Sunday, which wasn't the best pay-per-view, but it was a pay-per-view nonetheless. And pretty much all the big beats that we expected to be played were played. They set up the triple threat with Ron interference. Miz and Shane lost, and then Shane turned on Miz. We got we got a U.S. title match on the main card that was good. Thankfully they decided that Rey and Andrade shouldn't be on the kickoff show and moved into the main card. It was a great match there. We had a good women's tag team match. We had a really sloppy SmackDown women's title match, but that's more on Mandy Rose than is anything else. The Shield main event was good. Nice emotional moment there. But really, if we think about what stole the show, it was Kevin Owens, Mustafa Ali, and Daniel Bryan, which just stole the entire show. Again, Kofi Kingston, they played an angle there, and they played an angle tonight, which I'll talk about in a minute. That was awesome tonight. But nonetheless, that match definitely stole the show. Mike, I'm sure you'd agree that that was probably your highlight of Fastlane, right?
It was easily the highlight of Fastlane. They put that match in one of the shittiest positions of the show. And you know what? Extra credit to Mustafa Ali, who was put in by far the worst position of anybody. And he was essentially Rey Mysterio in the Royal Rumble, where he was put out in a position where he was sent out to be booed. Mustafa Ali and Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan worked their ass off. Had one of the matches of the year so far, an amazing triple threat. They worked their asses off. By the end of the match, Mustafa Ali had people chanting his name. Mustafa Ali's a star. And I wish those fucking sheeple who are all about this Kofi Kingston bullshit would have just shut up and appreciated the fact that what we had was an amazing match instead of attempting to ruin. I'm sorry if I'm upset about this. Attempting to ruin the first part of that amazing match with their "we want Kofi" bullshit. Shut the fuck up and appreciate what you've got. Shut the fuck up and appreciate what you got. Because you know what? I saw the SmackDown stuff tonight. I didn't see it. I read the spoilers, and I'm honestly miffed about it because it's Daniel Bryan 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not nearly as entertaining. Because where are we going with this after WrestleMania? Long term, Kofi Mania happens. What next? The guy's getting a month. You're delaying plans by a month because let's be quite honest here. And then Vince McMahon was completely and totally honest. Kofi's a B+ player. Yeah, he's the hot angle right now. Daniel Bryan, we didn't know about his injury ahead of the time. There were long-term plans for him. Kofi Kingston, what long-term plans are we going to have for the guy?
Yeah.
What fucking long-term plans are you? Next week, we're going to have the fucking guy go over Randy Orton, The Bar, Samoa Joe, and Eric Rowan. Who fucking cares?
Mm-hmm.
So we can get a match with Daniel Bryan.
I do think the Orton thing's kind of funny though.
Yeah, the Orton thing should have been the main fucking event.
Like I kind of like that Kofi has to go through Randy Orton to do this because of the history.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes sense is that he has to go through Randy Orton.
Like that I don't mind. But I get what you're saying.
The only guy he should go through cleanly is Eric Rowan.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But but my point is, and this is why I'm annoyed. And I don't mean to rant, and I'm not going to go very long about it. This is why I'm annoyed. Because it's Daniel Bryan 2.0.
It is. Oh, yeah.
But it's Daniel Bryan 2.0 where we're giving into the sheep, but we're wasting a WrestleMania main event slot on this. And for what fucking reason? For a title run that's going to be inconsequential and it's going to be over in a month.
Yeah.
We could have. Look, because they book this so shittily. If they had just run the singles match at Fastlane and just had Daniel Bryan pin Kofi Kingston, we would not be in this situation. That's all. Because from Fastlane, the long-term plan is clearly Mustafa Ali. It's Kevin Owens.
Here's the thing. Once the crowd started hijacking shows, they were going to go to Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania because they're trying to protect this whole well, we're listening to the fans thing. Becky's going over. You know, we're gonna have probably Seth Rollins go over. You know what I mean? We're gonna.
Well, sure, Rollins is going to go over, but there's more of a case for long-term Rollins.
Right.
More of a, but that's the thing. I think there was more of a case for a long-term Ali push.
Oh, but this is what would have happened with Ali. This is the same program. Even tonight, this is one of the things. First of all, the segment to end SmackDown tonight. I didn't see the whole thing. Okay, all because your criticisms are very valid. So I do agree with you. But still, that promo with the New Day and Kofi Kingston and Vince was amazing. It really was.
I'm sure it was.
It really was. But here's the thing that I was really shocked by. They didn't mention it specifically, like outwardly, but it was implying race. Like that, they were kind of talking around it. And
I'm sure it was, but when I read the summary, it was read pretty much word for word.
Yeah,
it's the Daniel Bryan shit.
Right.
He's a B+ player.
But I think that's exactly what they would have did with everything that they've done with Kofi Kingston, short of having a New Day by his side, was Mustafa Ali. Every single, except for the 11 years and the New Day part of it, is all what we would have done with Mustafa Ali. This is the same exact push he would have gotten. Word for word, like this is what would have happened. And so I think basically what happened was they're just like, well, you know what? When the guy that we wanted got injured, the crowd jumped on Kofi. We're just going to stick with Kofi. Kevin Owens just got tossed in because I think once Ali got hurt, they're like, oh, you know, Kofi will get the match, and after that, it'll be over with. So we need somebody else. Okay, Kevin Owens. But they didn't realize how. I told you, I said this to you on Sunday night. They should have never got Kevin Owens out there. They should have waited till after WrestleMania.
I agree.
Because now you're sticking Kevin Owens out there, and now he don't have a program unless you throw him and Ali into some fatal four-way, and neither one of them's going to win.
I agree. So
you're wasting both of them now because both of them were in your WrestleMania plans, and now essentially you have to go to Kofi Kingston because the crowd's going to riot if you don't.
Well, some of the sheeple part of the crowd.
Here's the thing: what they should have done. I don't agree that they should have had him pin him. I think what they should have done was had some cheap fluke victory for Kofi Kingston over Daniel Bryan.
I think that cheap fluke victory should have happened at Elimination Chamber.
Right, or just have him after Elimination Chamber. After Bryan does this long match at Elimination Chamber, he's banged up. Next SmackDown, Kofi challenges him. He loses the title. He gets it back at Fastlane.
Well, Kofi got his reign.
It shuts people up. He got his reign. And then and all you have to do is find some other program for New Day to screw him over and get him away from the title. If you want to give him a thank you reign at some point down the line, you do that. That's the way I would have done it. It would have got it out of everybody's system.
Yeah.
Instead, they're like, well, I guess this is our mania. And it's probably because, again, this was not a priority for them. Daniel Bryan in the WWE Championship was not a priority for them going into this WrestleMania season. It wasn't. They were going to give a Cinderella spot to Mustafa Ali, and that was what they were going to do. And now it's turned into Kofi Kingston.
And now here, please do not consider this as being whiny or being bigoted or anything. It's not. This has nothing to do with Kofi Kingston being black. It has everything to do with being marketable. Kofi Kingston's been WWE 11 years. He's been nothing more than a mid-card guy. He's been a part of a very marketable tag team, but as a singles guy, he's never been more of an Intercontinental title run. After the first night, he's going to be the title. He's going to be the hottest thing.
Right.
Second week, what are you going to do with him?
Well, that's just my point.
What are you going to do with him? Second week. He's not going to be nearly as over.
We know what this is. Once he peaks and wins, that's going to be it.
People are going to be satisfied. They're going to move on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
Because that's the thing. And unfortunately, this is the sad truth. Because, well, Kofi's fine. It's just there's no long-term plan for Kofi Kingston.
I think you're 100% right. It's not even it's not even because it's Kofi Kingston. It's because they didn't plan this out. There was no like, hey, this is where we're going with this character, and then this is what's going to happen after this character wins the. You know what I mean?
There's just no long-term.
When they were
if and here's the thing: if this was with Big E, you bet your ass they would have had a long-term plan for Big E.
I think if it was anybody that they planned on going into WrestleMania season, when they have these things planned, when they do these things, they have an A, B, and a C, and this is what happens if A, B, or C wins. And if you know what I'm saying, like when they decide, okay, Seth Rollins is going to beat Brock Lesnar. All right, well, what happens after that? What's his next feud? Oh, he's going here. This is where we're going from. You know what I mean? People don't think they have long-term booking. They don't do long-term booking for, like, in terms of day-to-day, but they know the end game for like feuds and stuff. They know where they're going with feuds. They just don't know how to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they decide, oh, Becky's going to go over here, or this one's going to go over here, they know what's going to happen after. Okay, she's going to transition into a feud with Charlotte, or she's going to transition to a feud with Nia Jax. You know what I mean? They know these things. They never had Kofi Kingston in any of this. They were talking about turning the New Day heel. They weren't talking about Kofi Kingston getting a singles run. We talked about. It's funny how right before all this happened, we were talking about how maybe the New Day should start looking at being, staying together, but going on their own singles path too.
Oh yeah, the whole thing with the New Day is I thought the bigger plan was to get Big E over as the big singles guy.
Right. You're 100% right, and if I want Kofi Kingston to succeed, I would have been totally fine with this if it was the plan. Like, hey, you know what? We can tell a really good story with Kofi Kingston here. Let's do that. And then they build it up, and it goes in that direction instead of it just being by accident.
I would have been more okay with this if it was A, the plan, and B, not WrestleMania.
I would have been okay with Mania if it was the plan.
I would if it were not WrestleMania.
Because
if this were like, again, like sometime after Mania, Money in the Bank, it was a big moment there,
right?
Sure, whatever. If this happened at Elimination Chamber, they should have run this match. They should have run the title change in Chamber. Sorry, peak it there, quash it there, because he was never more over there. Now we're going to have him go over a bunch of guys. Not clean. Or we're going to have him go over a bunch of these guys. They're going to have him go over Daniel Bryan.
You know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, AJ's going to interfere, and the Usos are going to interfere. And
no, it's going to the last person in the gauntlet's going to be Randy Orton.
No, the last person in the gauntlet's going to be Eric Rowan.
I'm not convinced of that.
Well, I'm kind of convinced of it, but AJ Styles is going to interfere anyway.
Yeah, I will say this though. I agree. I mean, I don't care if it's at WrestleMania or not. I just think if it was planned out from the beginning and you knew you could put everybody else would have had a plan. Now, you made a mess of things. You got two guys that don't have a plan now because you have to go in this direction, or at least you feel like you do because of the fans.
Yeah. So
it just makes a big mess of things.
And arguably, it's probably one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of this whole Kofi Mania bullshit is because these are two guys who I really do. I'm heavily biased to. Obviously I'm a big fan of KO, but I'm really much a more biased fan of Mustafa Ali. I'd rather see him get the moment.
Well, I mean, that's where they were going. From the minute he showed up on SmackDown, that was what we talked about.
Absolutely. I'd rather see Mustafa Ali get this big push because the guy is talented and what the dude represents is amazing.
Look, I'm all for Kofi getting an opportunity and winning it, but the way it's being done and the lazy way it's being done is not the way I would have went about it.
The way they did they did everybody dirty at Fastlane. They did everything wrong at Fast. The build up to look, and if you were in if it was anybody but Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan and Mustafa Ali, that match would have been a clusterfuck. It would have been taken over by the fans, and it would have been totally ruined.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I would have. Here's the thing, okay? Like I said, I don't have an issue with Kofi getting the opportunity. But it's just the way that they done it. And look, Kofi and the New Day are saving it with their promo skills and their characters. They're saving it, but at the same time, it's just the way that they're doing it's just lazy, and they've. But anyway, it was a good SmackDown tonight. You had the good promo at the end. AJ and Randy had a really good promo.
Yeah,
really good one.
On that.
That was good. The Miz Shane stuff at the beginning was good. We now can see what they're doing with Asuka. It's gonna be what I thought it was. It's gonna be probably a triple threat.
Yeah. Mandy Rose is gonna get a title match.
Yeah. But that's pretty much where it looks like they're going. I don't know where they're going with Samoa Joe. A week ago I said that I think it's going to be Samoa Joe and Cena. I do not think that anymore. I think Cena's going to get Kurt Angle.
Yep.
I think that's where they're going. Cena's even teasing it. I think that's probably because that's what Kurt wanted. But we'll see if that. Speaking of Kurt Angle, that was on Raw last night. It was one of the bigger points. He came out and said he's going to retire. His last match will be at Mania. He did that obviously because he was in Pittsburgh. It made sense to do it there. He got a last match in front of the crowd of Apollo. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot going on Raw last night. They continued the Beth Phoenix, Natty, Nia Jax, Tamina angle, which you know is going to end up at WrestleMania. It looks like there's going to be a mega tag team match at WrestleMania. That's where they're going there. They started the night with the Shield farewell. So I have to admit, I was really invested in the Drew Roman Dean stuff last night. Having Roman get attacked by Drew. Roman Reigns and Drew is not a bad match. It's better than the alternative of Baron Corbin, which they could still be doing. It could be Drew and Baron versus Roman and Dean. Mm-hmm. It could be that. But to have Dean do that, have that match at the end of the night, which could easily be Dean being written off TV too. We'll see what happens next week. But that was a brutal match, and they finally got Drew McIntyre back on the right track last night. He needed that, and I'm interested. I really am. I'm really interested in seeing where they go with Roman here, with Drew, with Dean. I think it was a very good turn of events they did last night with that. Triple H Batista was pretty good. I did like Triple H's crack about Guardians of the Indie scene. Thought that was pretty good. But yeah, it was. I thought Raw was okay. I thought SmackDown was easily better from what I've seen tonight. A lot more intensity, a lot more going on. Even the Charlotte Becky stuff wasn't too bad tonight. Now that we finally know where we're going with this stuff, not that we didn't already, but they had an okay week. It could have been a lot better. They're kind of booking themselves into pretzels a little bit here because they're just overbooking the hell out of some things. But it hasn't been it's been an okay week here. Mike, you have anything to add?
I've only seen a few extra things from Raw, so I'm not really caught up with anything. I caught the Asuka Sonya Deville match, and it's sad that the women's title match is going to essentially be Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville, but Asuka's the champion and the afterthought.
Yeah.
And she's the one who's going to win.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious how she's going to win, too.
Yeah, she's going to make one of them tap out. It's probably going to be Mandy Rose. And by the way, Mandy Rose had that. The match she had with Asuka was not good, I believe was the way you phrased it. And I don't believe anybody blames Asuka for that one.
No, not at all. By the way, you think Asuka's match is bad at WrestleMania? Think about Braun Strowman.
He doesn't have a match.
No, he's feuding with two guys from SNL.
Weekend Update.
Yeah, that's what he's feuding with.
Yikes.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, the best thing we can hope for here is that Braun Strowman appears on Saturday Night Live. That might be interesting.
He'd be good.
But yeah, and Alexa Bliss is hosting. We gotta figure. Somebody has to get an answer on Alexa Bliss because something's going on there. They keep acting like it's nothing and like, oh yeah, it's like creative has nothing for her. Oh, she's healthy, but there's got to be something going on.
Creative probably has nothing for her.
They probably don't, but she wrestled at the Rumble, and then that was it. And then she wrestled the next night for the tag team qualifier. but like something's not right. My instinct is telling me that there's more to it than that, and they're just hoping. It's one of those things where they're just hoping it gets better.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, then I mean they obviously value her enough to keep her on screen, and rightfully so. But I don't know. Anyway, oh, and Brie Bella retired. For those that are interested,
Yeah, she did on Total Divas.
Well, she took a lot of negativity last year, so I'm kind of not surprised by that. But I like how Nikki made it all about her. We were supposed to retire together.
Oh, look, Nikki made something all about her. No way.
Also, for those wondering, I mean, because they had a story on it. All these NXT call-ups over these last few weeks, Nikki Cross, EC3, Gargano, Aleister Black, etc. They're all going to be assigned to brands after WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll finally figure that stuff out after Mania. So, yeah, just because I know people have been asking about that, and that's been a big focus this week. So, all right. With that being said, we're done. We didn't do too bad. We got through it all in about a little over an hour. I didn't think we could do it, but we did. So, all things considered, that's not bad. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting. Continue to show, continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show, scheduling the show, topic ideas, or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, or wrestling that you want us to cover. Reactions, comments, opinions since we talked about on the show, since we said. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding the show. And as always, you can find us on Facebook. Just search in the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so you can interact with us and talk to us and know what's going on with the show and all that good stuff. Again, social media, Facebook and Twitter. Follow us on both so that you can get all the latest access to the show, interact with us, know what's going on, all that important stuff. 2 ways to keep up the show and look back at classic episodes. You can either stream us anytime on YouTube. Just search for the Spotlight 411, and when you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube, where you can find every episode we ever produced for YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October of 2015 all up to tonight's current episodes. That's available for you to stream anytime you want. Just go over to YouTube and search for the Spotlight 411. If YouTube's not your thing or streaming's not your thing, maybe for to listen to us or just listen to us on the go, or you're interested in older episodes of the show, if any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for the Spotlight 401. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode we've ever produced in the over 8 years we've been doing the show. So every episode from our Blog Talk Radio run, from our Talk Shoe run, and of course all of our recent episodes from YouTube from mid-October 2015 all up to tonight, all transfer into audio format for your convenience. Every episode ever done in audio format for you to listen to anytime you want. In order for the most recent, that being tonight, way back to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Those episodes available for you anytime you want to listen to them, whether you missed an episode, want to check on an episode again, or look back on an episode from years ago, or look at episode from way back when for the first time. If any of those things apply to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search in the Spotlight for. So again, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, and iTunes are your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for us anytime on any of those sites, and search for us by show title in the Spotlight 411 to have access to our show on all those sites, so you can interact with us, look back at those shows and catch up and all that jazz, I should say. Jazz, not jazz. Though jazz is not the right term for that, but whatever. All that stuff, I should say. I use stuff a lot. I just want to try to change it up, but that failed. Okay. So I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
Time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Parents on my back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. To those that will be watching, listening to this later, thank you to you as well. Again, apologies for the technical issues at the start and the late start. And I did rush a lot tonight. I apologize. It wasn't going to be. We had a lot to do. It wasn't going to be as detailed a show because, again, the content that we had didn't require a lot of focus tonight. But I did rush a little bit more than I probably would have. So, but anyway, I apologize for that. But hey, it was late. I didn't want to go too far or too long. So, but the next couple of weeks we'll go into more detail on things, and we won't have that issue. So, but that being said, I hope you all have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend and a great start to week next week. Enjoy the basketball. Have fun on Selection Sunday and St. Patrick's Day. Please stay safe. Our next show will be 1 week from tonight on March the 19th, streaming live here on YouTube at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That's our next show. Until then, have a good night, everybody.